What's up, dudes and dudettes of the year? Now, my name's Scythe, and we are back again with another Trove on Xbox One. So, even though I didn't already talk about it, though, folks, I actually did start a series on the PS4 version of Trove as well, so now I'm actually running 3 different versions. How y'all doing today, though, folks? Hope you're doing fantastically wonderful. I hope this video makes your day even better. Lots and lots of stuff has happened. Like, seriously, Jiminy Crockett. I gotta actually go through all of this. Thank goodness I wrote it all down. So, obviously, we're rocking this beautiful mount. This one was actually given to me by, where's the person? Where's the username? Give me this thing. Where is he? Where's his name? Slyfire Knight, there it is. He also gave me some S1, like Shadow 1 gear, which now I've actually got some Shadow 2 gear on this guy, so anytime I run into extra Shadow gear, I'm actually just throwing it into our club chest, which is just right over here in the corner. But then also, Slyfire Knight, his YouTube is actually Pyro God YT. He wanted me to plug that just as a shout out. Then there is also Saber Wolf gave like tons and tons of Infinium. Saber Wolf 6464, I should say. So, ended up bumping him up. He is now an officer in the club. I gotta actually try and find some time. Probably by the time this video comes out, you're gonna see a list right over here already. Never mind. That shows all of the officers. So you can always ask all these fine, beautiful people for invites to the club and stuff like that if they're actually on. Otherwise, join the Discord. Links are in the description for that. But before all of that stuff, because we still got a lot to talk about, I would very much appreciate if you would hit that like button. Helps me out more than you know, folks. And then there is also Slice Demon 89 ended up giving a couple infinity frames for the different biomes, as you can kind of see. But there is actually quite a few builds that have been going on with the club. Lots of new biomes. I don't know why that desert is sealed to nobody for some reason. Maybe there's something special there. Then there's also Born Winter IX ended up giving me a couple Hearts of Darkness, so we might actually get to use those today because we're going to be fighting some of the Shadow Tower bosses. The Shadow Titans. Must 2803 ended up giving me a Proto Penguin, and then there's just been a bunch of other people being very, very nice to me in the club, giving me lots of stuff. Just a couple different allies and stuff like that. I mean, not mounts. And then also the other day, just off-camera grinding. Where is it? I ended up actually getting a Pem block as a drop. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to craft that into anything, which is unfortunate, but man alive, that is insanely lucky. Like, I never thought I would get a Pem block to save my life. And then more importantly, if we come up to the second floor, we actually have all the portals. Thank you so much, everybody. Like, seriously, without your contribution, like, this already goes to show, look how quickly we ended up doing that. That is thanks to all of you, because there has been so many people donating all sorts of different things. Like, it's just absolutely crazy. And then Tobin 10, Mr. Gymnastic, Walshy, X13X, Xbox Survivor 30. All these people ended up getting bumped up to officer because they helped with a lot of the portals and stuff like that. Not to mention just lots and lots of other stuff, really applying themselves to like the group and everything. What is this? Oh, that's way too difficult for me. So I guess we're gonna hop into normal Spike Walker here, and just so that we save a little bit of time, I am going to try and desperately grind my way up to the bosses so that we can just do that on camera. But I mean, hopefully I'm gonna be strong enough to actually do it, right? All right, this is more like it, starting to get a little bit of help in these portals, because otherwise I'm not particularly strong. As I'm recording this, you can see in the top left, I'm only 1,185 power rank with my Draco, which is not good. I mean, my barb is actually a lot stronger just because I actually ended up getting my barb to level 20, and then I ended up getting really, really busy, and since then I haven't really had the extra spare time to grind my Draco up to level 20 or anything beyond that, right? I really, really want to if I get the chance, but yeah, it might be a little while. I think we're at Spike Walker now, and technically we already did end up fighting this bad boy on camera, but for the sake of fighting all of the Titan bosses in one video and the continuity of that, we're gonna be fighting the Spike Walker, and I'm not gonna use my Shadow Key on this bad boy. And also just want to double mention, because I did talk about this in the Shadow Tower thing, but you actually use Moon Keys on hard mode Shadow Towers, and then you use the Eclipse Keys in the ones that are even harder than that. Please defeat Spike Walker in 2 seconds. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not gonna waste my keys though, because, well, needless to say, we could end up doing some really good, getting better stuff in the other portals, right? So for the Shadowy Market, now that we actually have 2 Hearts of Darkness, thank you, dude. Seriously, Brown winner. Brown winner, born winner. I got his name completely wrong. But the Brony, the Dream Brony, is actually one of my favorite mounts. You know, especially out of the Shadow Tower stuff, it really, really is one of my favorites. So we're gonna grab that one. And I'm gonna continue onward. Failed to join session. I honestly forgot just how unstable the Shadow Towers are, because I'm pretty sure the version of Trove that's running right now is actually one of the versions that is really, really bad for that. I already mentioned this once before, but I'm pretty sure what is actually going on with the Shadow Towers is this was a bug a long time ago, where it's trying to spit us, who are on the North American server, into the European server. But the problem therein lies that, as far as I've heard for the console version of Trove, there is only the North American servers. And even if it was the case where there would be like the North American and European server, just because people often ask, but there is no difference on Trove. That's one of the reasons why the servers are so unstable, is because there's actually no difference between the European and North American servers outside of maybe a little bit of world lag that you don't run into. But otherwise, you can play with everybody on like the European and North American. Seems like somebody ended up actually crashing alongside us. So hopefully, because that's the biggest reason why I barely touch the Shadow Towers, despite the fact that they're actually really, really good for experience grinding, I don't really touch them because of the fact that, you know, they crash like so often, and it's really, really frustrating because I'll have like a big group of people and they're just going from one portal into the next one, destroying everything, and I keep having to restart my game. So I get to the boss, they kill it already by then, and rip, suddenly I don't get any credit for that. Now, I don't know if I already mentioned this once before, but I am dreading when we actually start getting to the end game and somebody's using the Gunslinger with the Clash Gem ability, because legit, it is like so like crazy. Like for people that have epilepsy, seriously be warned, because the Gunslinger's Clash Gem ability sucks. Visually, it is so bad, it just makes your screen flash like a madman. And normally on the PC version, we actually have mods that we can use to get rid of that and kind of bring the video effects down. But for the console, we're just screwed. So anyways, this is Weeping Prophet. This is the second boss. He's probably gonna get wrecked right away here, folks. But he ends up being one of the weaker bosses, honestly, even over Spikewalker, because his hit detection is a lot easier to, well, hit. But pretty much what he ends up doing is summoning eye minions and stuff, and ends up being a little bit of a challenge. Not really anything to tell home about, though. You end up getting through him pretty darn quickly. We at least got a couple pieces of Shadow gear. I'll probably have to drop these off for other people, unless there's a Shadow 2 in here. No, rip. But once you get to Piñata God is actually the strongest boss in the entire game, pretty much. Somebody activated the portal, and then we activated ours over top of them. Get wrecked, dude. This is my port, not yours. But yeah, Piñata God is definitely the strongest, not because of like genuine difficulty, but because of the minions. The amount of minions that end up being spawned with that guy are just game-breakingly so. Like even once you end up getting to the end game, the whole goal in Ultra Towers is to get through Piñata God, because not only are the battles up to Piñata God a lot stronger, but the boss itself, because of the amount of minions that it has, forget about it. There's not really that many people that can end up tanking that without being like particularly powerful, you know what I'm saying? Or end up using different tricks that it can do to get them, right? But thankfully, we've got a strong enough group here that we're going to be able to get through this no problem. That's one thing, too, you got to watch out for, folks. If you're grinding Shadow Towers for experience, I would actually recommend to grind Weeping Prophet over and over, especially if you get to hard Weeping Prophet. That's actually the best experience in the entire game, just because of the way that it ends up working, like with the amount of experience that you actually get from dungeons and stuff. Of course, you got to be a high enough level to actually gain the proper amount of experience. I think it counts as a U6 portal. I think so. If you're the proper level, suggested level for U6 and above that, you're gonna end up getting really, really good experience in hard weeping. And it also ends up being one of the easiest portals to repeat. Like, you know, for Piñata God, it's not really worth it as far as experience grinding. Spike Walker is just under it, that it's not worth it. And Daughter of the Moon is never worth it because the boss itself just ends up taking a long time. And even if you can end up getting through it really quickly, honestly speaking, Weeping Prophet, you can actually grind that until level 30 because it's the best experience. The only time that you can actually get better experience would be, especially on console, would be if you could actually manage a Neon Ninja speed build, which is going to be impossible on the console version because of the low frame rate. And then on top of that, if you end up having enough gear and enough power that you could take a character at, say, level 25 plus, maybe 27 or something like that, and efficiently go through or get leeched in Ultra Weeping, that is actually the absolute best, but good luck with that. Now, to the point that I was just trying to say about, like, when we're randomly grinding dungeons and stuff like that, or grinding for experience in Weeping, you're gonna have to be careful because lots, like, very, very often, people get very bored of it and tired of running the same boss over and over, despite the fact of how efficient it is, and then they'll try to, not necessarily to do it on purpose, but they'll try to get to the end, just, oh my goodness gracious, this game and it's jumping. They'll try to get to the end, open a new portal that you don't need, and it's just like, dude, no. Like, and then you pretty much just have to either leave or just kick that person and try again, but it's just really, really annoying. This is one of the most annoying dungeons in the entire game, by the way. I think the devs, unfortunately, completely forgot about this dungeon and how gross it is, especially on console. Like, trying to do this with a controller, let alone trying to do it with 2 jump, is just a joke. Like, the unsteady frame rate is what really gets to me, and just trying to do it with a controller, like, seriously, this dungeon sucks. And on the PC version, thankfully, they finally ended up making it, like, even on the PC version, this dungeon is absolute trash. But on the PC version, they have it where there's actually a portal that you can just jump through right at the top there. That actually just takes you all the way to the top. Because these platforming parts aren't as difficult. It's just that first one right there. Like, platforming in general is just an absolute mess in this game. Especially if you're running only 2 jump. But also, most of all, just on the console. Like, it's like, I was kind of dreading that because a lot of the dungeons in this game are very claustrophobic and stupid. Like, look at this right now. Like, the camera is just an absolute mess because, like, seriously, get up there, you idiots! Like, come on, it's just so terrible. I hate it. But anyways, if we get over here, hopefully they're not gonna end up rushing the boss, because otherwise I'm gonna have to do the boss all over again and go through the Shadow Towers alone. But if you come to this point, you can either jump like a madman, but it actually is a lot faster for you to end up equipping a boat and taking this as a boat elevator, right? So hopefully they didn't end up going to the boss. Thank you, dudes and dudettes, for actually waiting for me, because otherwise that would have sucked. Okay, I also gotta equip the Dreamy Brony right here, actually, because like I said, the Dream Brony is actually one of my favorite mounts, even though the seasonal one is beautiful, and thank you again for giving it to me. I mean, look at it, if we can ever get out of these dumb menus. Look at this guy, isn't he amazing? Like, seriously, this is such a swag mount. Like, I love it. Okay, so Piñata God is just gonna get destroyed right away because these guys are super duper powerful, but normally what you'll end up doing at the late game is somebody who's gonna be the tank is gonna be the first person to actually activate the boss, and you're not gonna want anybody else to actually touch the boss until you get in position, because with the way that aggro ends up working in this game, it's really, really dumb, and if people end up attacking him, he'll just get aggravated by them right away. So a tank is going to end up pulling Piñata into the corner, because then while Piñata is actually in the corner, he's going to spawn lots of his minions outside of the map, and because of it, you're not going to deal with nearly as many of them. And then all of the ranged characters, ideally, is this Daughter of the Moon? Thank you very much, it is. Ideally, all of the other characters are going to be ranged, no other melee fighters, because otherwise they're going to take aggro, and that's just a garble's mess. But you're gonna lure the boss into the corner, and then all the ranged characters are gonna be attacking him from as far as possible so that they don't take aggro from the boss and pull him away from the corner. But most of all, so they don't take aggro from the minions, because the tank is gonna be taking all of the damage and doing a proper tank's job. Now, granted, once you actually get to Ultra, you're gonna have to do a little bit of cheap tactics, or just end up using enough a really good flash combination, or just have like well over 1 to 2 million vitality for sure, because otherwise, rip, you're just gonna end up dead. But anyways, now we're actually getting to Daughter of the Moon. I also should mention too, which I think I mentioned in my Shadow Tower tutorial, I should have most definitely, but all these dungeons and stuff like that kind of rotate like every week. So they're always gonna end up being new. It's not like something like that needs to be instructed though, because I mean, honestly speaking, you're gonna end up finding that out yourself. But I'm really, really glad that these other people, you know, that we got with us are so ballin' and so powerful, because otherwise it would have taken me 50 zillion years to actually be able to solo my way up to Daughter, even if we were just in normal mode. But I'm gonna skip to the boss, and then I'll tell you a couple of the different strategies that you can use on her. She's actually one of the easiest bosses in the game, because of some cheap tactics that you can end up doing. Oh, but just to kind of reiterate a point of Weeping Prophet actually being the best, luckily, sometimes during the week, you can actually get 3 shadow arenas. This is a shadow dungeon. The shadow arena is the one where you just fight waves of enemies. But if you can get arena as the 3 generated Shadow Towers before Weeping Prophet, that is definitely the best experience in the game, because just how quickly you can get through those, as opposed to these dungeons taking as much time as they do. Once upon a time, in the beta days of Trove, there was actually no loading screens. I don't know why they added them. But anyways, this is the Daughter of the Moon Arena. Isn't it beautiful? Like, seriously, there's actually clubs in the PC version of Trove that are just this room. Like, seriously. And so there's a couple different strategies you can end up doing for this boss. Honestly speaking, if you want to be able to guaranteed solo it, you can end up defeating her very, very easily with the Ice Sage, because as you end up tagging her with your normal attack, she's gonna actually be really, really slow movement speed, and that's one of the things that ends up being essential, especially if you're having trouble, you know, even in a group. You can definitely end up just getting an Ice Sage on your team, and then you're gonna be able to get through it no problem, because everyone's gonna be able to kite her and stay away from her damage. But once you get a little bit better at the game and just kind of understanding her strategy, it's very, very easy to dodge all of her attacks without taking any damage, outside of when she does, like, when she gets to her last phase, because this is one of the only bosses that has different phases. So at first she's going to start with a sword, you're going to knock that out of her hand, and then she's going to pull out a gun, then she pulls out her sword again and has an attack that pretty much one-shots everybody until you have, like, insane amounts of health. And I mean insane, like 2 million plus. Well, not necessarily a normal daughter, but anyways, it's supposed to be a one-shot kill. And then there's her final phase where she kind of does Hadoukens and Kamehameha and stuff like that, and has these big fart clouds that go all around her. And that phase really, really sucks to fight in, just because of how difficult it is to see. So a quick tip that you can end up doing, while I do actually have a video kind of talking about the different text commands you can do, but if you type /FX enable space 0, you can actually turn off all of the video effects in the entire game, which is going to make it difficult to see stuff for sure, but at the least you're going to be able to see where the boss is, right? And then you just type a 1 instead of the 0 to actually replace it and bring it back up. But anyways, here's Daughter of the Moon. She's very, very beautiful. And then for the Ultra Daughter speed run, there's actually a couple cheap tactics that most people do. While you can end up becoming super duper powerful, she didn't even get to any of her phases. While you can end up being a super duper powerful group and trying to get through the speed run that way, for the most part, there's an exploit that most people do. I don't actually know the exploit per se, or how to end up doing it, I should say, but there's kind of a bug where you kind of like activate the boss, but her AI isn't activated, and because of that, the timer doesn't start counting, so you kind of get her to like half or weak health or something like that, and then everybody like gangs up on her and kills her. It's got something to do with, I think, the boomeranger. I don't know. I don't really know the strategy. I could care less about getting a purple name or doing a speed run, but I just want to kind of put that into perspective, because lots of people like to act like there's skill involved, which a good friend of mine, Chronozilla, ended up saying a good point with it, where a lot of the skill with speedrunning ended up going out the window as soon as the Mantle of Power update, which is the update that added all the gems and everything like that. Because with the gem system being as random as it is, you know, there was always exploits for sure. But the fact of the matter is that it kind of required, like, you would just be better at the game rather than just using, like, the full-on exploit, right? But I'm not saying everybody's doing that. Needless to say, on console, I don't know. But I do want to show you that there is actually a top 100, like, people that have actually been able to defeat Ultra Daughter of the Moon already. So that is absolutely insane. Dude, like, man alive. And the fact that they're able to do it so quickly is just nuts. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I wanted to get all these bosses on camera for all of you in one concise video, so I'll have to see how long the video is after editing, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. Don't forget to like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. Sign on and stay epic, everybody.